6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Ramesh Pires. First, the headlines. One of the three MPs proposed and seconded today in Parliament is to be elected tomorrow as the succeeding president. The Speaker instructs MPs not to take pictures of their ballot paper. Priority will be given to public transport when issuing fuel. The railway station masters say there's a delay in receiving train tickets to meet the demand. In news overseas, ferocious European heatwave heads north. In sports, it's cricket. Baba falls, but Shafiq's ton keeps Pakistan on top. Now the local news in detail. One of the three MPs proposed and seconded today in Parliament is to be elected as the succeeding president by the votes of members of Parliament tomorrow. Their names are proposed and seconded for the vacancy of the presidency with the resignation of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Accordingly, the names of Acting President and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, MP Dallas Alahaperuma and MP Anurakumara Disanayake were proposed. MP Dallas Alahaperuma's name was proposed by the Leader of the Opposition Sajith Premadasa and MP Professor JUL Pires seconded it. Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe's name was proposed by the Leader of the House, Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, and MP Manusha Nanakara seconded it. MP Anurakumara Disanayake was proposed by MP Vijitha Herath and MP Dr. Harini Amarasuriya seconded it. The Secretary General of Parliament, Dhammika Dasanayake, announced that the nominations of those three candidates were accepted for succeeding president in accordance with the Presidential Election Special Provisions Act No. 2 of 1981. Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardene today informed the Parliamentary Business Council that MPs should not take pictures of their ballot papers. He said they should not be forced to or influenced to vote for any particular candidate in tomorrow's presidential election, as this was against parliamentary rules. Speaker Abeyewardene said that according to the Presidential Election Special Provisions Act, which outlines the rules regarding the voting, prohibits influencing or coercing MPs who are voting in the election. He said, as this is a secret ballot, any moves to force a MP to photograph their ballot will result in them being banned from sitting in Parliament for 7 years. A discussion regarding distribution of fuel for public transport took place today at the Ministry of Highways. It was decided to issue fuel to buses with route permits from SLTB depots and selected filling stations. It was also decided to provide fuel in future for public transport buses and buses with permits from regulatory authorities according to a quota system. Ministers Kanchana Wijesekara, Mandula Gunawardena and ministry officials attended the discussion. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. Sri Lanka Railway Station Masters Union says there's a delay in receiving train tickets to meet the demand. Secretary to the Union, Kasum Chamara said a large number of train tickets were used as the people now preferred to travel by train. He said attention of the department has been drawn to this, and if no immediate attention is paid, issues may arise at stations such as Fort, Maradana, Gampaha, Veyangoda, Ragama, as well as at many substations. The union said they also draw attention of the relevant authorities to expedite the implementation of the electronic ticketing system to be introduced next year. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Youth Front has decided to vote for a candidate named by the party at the election in Parliament to select the president. Chairman of the Youth Front, MP D.V. Chanaka, said all of them agreed with the decision of the party to support Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. However, Chairman of the party, Minister JUL Pires, said that a group of members of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, including himself, are supporting MP Dallas Alahaperuma. He said their party members have the freedom to support any candidate who is contesting for the post. Meanwhile, the group of independent parties led by MP Vimal Weerawansa, Udaya Gamampila and Vasudeva Nanakara has decided to back MP Alahaperuma in the election in Parliament to elect a new president tomorrow. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
In the main news story, New Delhi's envoy in Colombo told the Indian Express newspaper India is willing to make more investments in Sri Lanka after supporting it with $3.8 billion this year. India's High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagde, said the idea is to respond to Sri Lanka's request for enabling them to meet their foreign exchange crisis. He said India would like to continue to bring more investment into Sri Lanka because that will help create medium and long-term capacity to respond within the Sri Lankan economy. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddha Lepu Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, the Deputy High Commissioner of Sri Lanka in Chennai and the Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Mumbai are planning to collect details of the Sri Lankan students who are currently studying in India in order to update the relevant databases. This would enable the Sri Lankan missions and posts to reach out to Sri Lankan students to provide assistance whenever necessary. They request the Sri Lankan students to register themselves using the web links available at the High Commission of Sri Lanka, Consulate General in Mumbai, or the Deputy High Commission of Sri Lanka in Chennai, according to the territory where they are currently studying or residing. And that came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to world news, first the headlines. Ferocious European heatwave heads north. Russian President Putin visits Iran in rare international trip. A report finds Australia's environment is in shocking decline. And now the world news in detail. Western Europe faces more sweltering temperatures on Tuesday as a ferocious heatwave heads north. In France and the UK, extreme heat warnings were issued while northern Spain recorded temperatures of 43 degrees Celsius yesterday. Deadly wildfires in France, Portugal, Spain and Greece have forced hundreds of people to evacuate their homes. The UK is expected to see its hottest day ever, and experts say parts of France face a heat apocalypse. Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit Iran today in just his second foreign trip since he launched the invasion of Ukraine in February. Mr. Putin will meet Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Grain exports, Syria and Ukraine will be discussed in Tehran. The Russian leader has limited his international visits to former Soviet states since war broke out in Ukraine. According to an anticipated report, Australia's environment is in a shocking state and faces further decline from amplifying threats. The survey of Australia's ecological systems, conducted every 5 years, found widespread abrupt changes. These can be blamed on climate change, habitat loss, invasive species, pollution and mining. The report said the threats are not being adequately managed, meaning they are on track to cause more problems. Back to the headlines of the world news. Ferocious European heatwave heads north. Russian President visits Iran in rare international trip. And a report finds Australia's environment is in shocking decline. And that concludes world news. Moving on to development news. The Climate Smart Irrigated Agriculture Project, which is financed by the World Bank, is implemented by the Agriculture Ministry in 6 provinces of the dry zone, covering 258 Gram Niladhara divisions in 11 districts. The main development objective of the project is to enhance the livelihood of beneficiary farmer families by improving climate resilience and agriculture productivity. The product is planned to be completed in 2024. And that was development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports news, it's cricket. Today is the 4th day of the first test between Sri Lanka and Pakistan at Galle International Cricket Stadium. The last wicket of Babar Azam has given Sri Lankans a huge lift and cracked this game wide open. Until then, it was Pakistan's day. Sri Lanka scored 222 in their first innings, while Pakistan scored 218. Babar surpassed 3,000 test runs along the way, also making his 22nd test 50. Meanwhile, Shafiq went past his second test 100. In the second innings, Sri Lanka scored 337. Pakistan were 222 for 3 wickets in their second innings at stumps, needing 120 runs to win the first test. In other sports news, football, Chelsea striker Sam Kerr will be the first female player to feature on the global cover of EA Sports FIFA football game. The Australian will be alongside Paris Saint-Germain and France striker Kylian Mbappe on the cover of FIFA 23. Kerr won the Golden Boot in 2021-22 as the top scorer in the Women's Super League. In other football news, Alex Morgan's 78-minute penalty sealed the USA's place in the 2024 Olympics as they beat Canada 1-0 in the CONCACAF Women's Championship final. Morgan netted her 118th international goal after Alicia Chapman fouled American Rose Lavelle in the area. Canada, the reigning Olympic champions, will face Jamaica next year for the other CONCACAF sport at Paris 2024. And that was sports news.
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, GRI has completed phase 2 of its $100 million production capacity investment for its specialty tire facility in Sri Lanka. With phase 2 completed, production capacity will be increased by almost 100% from present capacity to provide an output of 60 tons per day. It will support the increase in demand experienced for the company's agriculture tire category that was launched in 2018 across key markets primarily in the US, Europe and Australia. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
In economic news, the International Chamber of Commerce of Sri Lanka, representing business and industrial sector, highlights the importance of the decision to be made by the legislature on electing the head of state, who would be endowed with the paramount obligation to chart the course for the nation's future. It has extended support for domestic governance and holistic growth based upon transparency, accountability and rule of law, which would consequently steer the nation towards a healthy economic landscape for over 22 million Sri Lankans. And that was economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking. LOLC Finance will continue to innovate with the next generation digitalization of financial services, delivering a superior customer experience.
And finally, moving on to the weather report, the Met Department forecasts several spells of showers to occur in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Nuwara Eliya, Kandy, Galle and Matara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the Uva, eastern and north central provinces and in the Murathiwa district during the night. Strong winds about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the southern province. And that was the weather report. And to end this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. One of the 3 MPs proposed and seconded today in Parliament is to be elected tomorrow as the succeeding president. The Speaker instructs MPs not to take pictures of their ballot papers. Priority will be given to public transport when issuing fare. The railway station masters say there is a delay in receiving train tickets to meet the demand. In news overseas, ferocious European heatwave heads north. In sports, it's cricket. Baba falls, but Shafiq's stunt keeps Pakistan on top. And that concludes this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.